So let's have a look around the Power Query Editor window. So on the left-hand side, we've got the queries. So these are all of the get data that you have just loaded. And it can also be a query can be made up of another query. So maybe you have altered a query and maybe you've combined two queries together to form a third query. So all of your queries that you've got loaded are over here. And you can select any one by clicking on a different query. On the top, we have got several menus. We have got the File menu. So this contains things like Close and Apply, which you can also see here in the Home menu. What this does is it takes you back to the Power BI desktop. Now you'll notice in the Power BI desktop it says there are pending queries, there are changes in your queries that you haven't applied yet. Notice that we haven't got any queries whatsoever. I've started from a blank slate. So if I was just to go Close, wherever I go in the File or in the Home menu, then it will close the Power Query Editor and take me back to the Power BI desktop. But I don't have my new query, so I've got to click on Apply Changes. And when that happens, it then loads the information in. You can see the information is not done terribly well. Column 10, column 11. Don't worry, we will be correcting that very shortly. So let's go back into my query. So in addition to Close and Apply, we've also got other things in the Home menu. These are common things that you can do. So new query, so you can get more information. You can refresh, so maybe your spreadsheet or maybe you're getting something from the web, maybe that's changed. You can manage the columns, reduce the number of rows that you see, in other words, filter in some way. You can sort, you can transform, so maybe you have a column that you're splitting into several. And you can merge and append queries, so combining multiple queries into one. Now, we'll be going through the vast majority of this in a little bit of detail with an appropriate data source. So this is just a quick overview of everything. So there may look a lot of stuff there, and there is. But there's also a lot that's actually hidden away as well. The transform and add column menus do have a fair amount of similarity. For instance, you can see statistics here and statistics here. What the difference is that transform takes a column or columns and changes it, whereas add column may take an existing column and adds a separate column. Alternatively, it may just add a new column. So for instance, maybe I wanted everything to be numbered starting with the number 1. And view, we have a few other things in here. And again, we'll be going through the vast majority of this in this part. Now on the right hand side we have got the query settings. So first of all we've got the name, so if you didn't like the name of the query then this is where you can change it. But this is the most important point. This is called applied steps. And what this is the computer's instructions of what to do with your data. So it got the data, it did something called navigation, it then promoted the headers. In other words, it took what was in row 1 and promoted it up, and then it gave certain columns a different type, a field type, whether it's number, whether it's text, for instance. So if you're used to Visual Basic applications, then this is a sort of macro. It says do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. One of the good things about it is you can go back to an earlier step and see what's happened. So here is my existing source. So here are all of the spreadsheets. And then I went to one specific spreadsheet. And here you can see row 1, we've got all of these, well, the catalogue, for instance. It then got promoted into the headers. And the file type, or the column types, you can see it says ABC123. We'll get into what that means later. But then it changed it into ABC. So the good thing about all of this is because it's a series of steps that the computer is doing, you can change those steps. So suppose I wanted to change which data source I was going from. Well, you can click on this little star next to the source. And you can say, well, it wasn't this spreadsheet I wanted, it was another one. However, there is a danger. Let's say we've got 4 steps, A, B, C, D. And let's say we took out step C. is there a guarantee that A, B, D would work? Possibly not. So while you can delete steps, it is quite dangerous to do so, unless you know what you're doing. If you're deleting the last step, well, a computer can do A, B, C, no problem. It's just when you're missing a step. Equally, if you're changing what was in a previous step, then if there's a navigation, so which spreadsheet to go to, you might find that there are some unpredictable results coming up. So if I change this, for instance, to a different one, construction, click OK, eventually we get an error. The computer doesn't know exactly what's happening. So be careful when editing previous steps. But we'll go into lots of detail as to why you should, when you should, in this part. We'll also be going into why it's good that the computer is recording this as a series of steps. If you found that you have got a fairly complicated data source and you're making all of these changes to get it exactly how you want, and then the data changes, well, that's no problem. You just refresh your data and the computer will still go through all of the various data sources, all of the various steps that you're doing. So the steps are independent from the actual data. You can change the data and still have all of these functions happen to your data. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, or just a preview, is this bit, the formula bar. Now, you're probably quite used to a formula bar in Excel, but you'll see that these formulas are something that you have never used before. And some of them can look really scary. In the next video, what we're going to do is have an introduction to all of these functions, find out when you do need to know about it, and find out when you don't. And you might be pleased to know that for the vast majority of beginning to intermediate tasks, you can completely ignore this formula bar. It's when you're getting into the advanced things that you should get to know this. So in the next video, we'll have a brief introduction to these formulas used in the Power Query Editor. Just before we do, I just want to say, if for some reason you can't see this query settings, maybe it's no longer there, you closed it on a previous occasion, then just to get it back, just go to View and Query Settings. It's very important that I'll have this on screen all the time, basically, when I'm using Power Query Editor. With these queries on the left-hand side, if you don't want to see them, just click on this left arrow, this less than sign, and it just collapses. So it doesn't actually get removed, but just collapses. And if for some reason you can't see the formula bar, I don't know why you would ever want to get rid of it, but if you did, it's also there in View as a checkbox. So in the next video, we'll have a look at these formulas.